All right, let's open up IntelliJ. And in here, what we're going to do is the following. So inside of this customer right here, what we're going to do is use this annotation right here. So at and then entity. And we're also going to use at and then table. So these two annotations, they're really special and they will allow us to map this class right here to our table in our database. So now what we need to do is, so in here, what we're going to do is the following. So this customer repository, what we're going to do is, so in here, we no longer need to implement the customer repo right here. So we're going to remove all of this. So we're going to remove all of this. Let's remove all of this. And now this will be extending and then JPA and then repository. And in here, we need to say that this is customer and then the ID data type is long. So this is, and actually this should be an interface now. So interface, just like that. And there we go. So let me put this just like this. And if I remove those unused imports. So JPA repository, and this is using generics. So this is what we want to work with. So customer, and the data type for the ID of our customer is long. So if I open up customer, you can see that the data type for ID is long, right? So long. And one last thing that we need to do here is to annotate this with at and an ID, right? And this should do it. Now, what I'm going to do is open a project and then let's go to customer service and in here. So instead of basically injecting customer repo, we no longer need that fake repository. So here I'm going to say that this will be customer and then so basically customer repository, and this will be customer repository, and let me rename these. So just like that. So customer repository, and rename the arguments as well for the constructor, and we're good to go. So now you can see that customer repositories doesn't have the get customers, but instead we have find and then all, and you can see that that returns a list. There we go, and that should be it. So if I now restart the application, and at this point we don't need that interface, right? And actually yes, so here we don't need basically this anymore, and we can just return that basically. So in here, so remember, so let me just indent things and then delete that line there. So inside of our customer configuration now, here we're just returning a fake repo, right? So we're not using this anymore because now we are connecting to a database. So yeah, so let's just start the application again. And that should be it, I think. And there we go. And you can see that right here we have some logging. Have a look. Job table if exist, customer cascade, create table customer, and check this out, right? So it's creating the table for us. So this now means that basically, let me just show you quickly. So in applications.property, remember we added this show SQL. this is what is doing it, right? So it's actually showing the SQL that Hibernate is executing. Now, if I collapse this and then here, just go back and remember before we were returning this mock data, but now if I refresh, we are getting an empty list, and I think it's because, so let's actually refresh here. So resend. So let's connect again and then select star from and then customer and then run. And you can see, fair enough, we have 0 rows, right? So which means that it's actually no longer picking these, well, actually, it's not picking this data.sql. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab all of that, and then we're going to basically go back in here, and I'm going to paste that, and then I'm going to run. And you can see that everything worked, and too many tabs. So in here, now if I reload, I have an error in here, and it says no default constructor for entity. That's fine. So let's just create one quickly. So open up customer, and then if we scroll down, so here, what we're going to do is have an empty constructor. So here, constructor, and select none. And this is our empty constructor. Now we have to change a few things in here. So these can no longer be final. So let's just remove the final keyword from there. And now let's start the application. There we go. So basically there's some magic behind the scenes that we cannot have these fields as immutable. So there we go. So now let's go back in here and let's access our console, and basically let me just copy everything again, and then I'm going to refresh because we lose the state, and then connect again, paste all the inserts, run. There we go, everything worked. And now, so in here, so before we had a 500 internal server error because of no default constructor for entity customer. Now if I refresh, so you can see that we have a bunch of data here. So believe me or not, so this is actually 1,000 people coming from our database. So if I scroll all the way down, you can see 1,000 people. So this is just a quick glance at connecting to databases. So connecting to databases and H2, and basically this course on its own, we're not going to be able to cover databases, and that's why I chose to teach you H2. However, you should never use H2 for your production databases. H2 is mainly for testing, right? Because you saw that every time we refresh the page, we actually lose all the data. And you should really be using something like Postgres or MySQL or even Mongo, right? And if you're serious about databases and building backend applications, go ahead and enroll to this course right here. So Spring Data JPA, where I teach you how to connect to a real database, right? And not an in-memory. So we're not going to connect to H2, but we will connect to Postgres, and then we'll build this schema right here with all of these relationships, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, and a bunch more. So, and one thing also, you saw that we actually lost the data and schema as we added the repository, right? So I actually didn't even teach you what is going on here, right? So with this customer repository, so this interface right here, and for best practices, let's just add and then say repository here, right? So this is actually JPA giving us some magic where it gives us an abstraction, and we can have methods. So inside of the customer service, so here you saw that we said find all, but here I can say customer repository dot, and then find all. We can count, we can delete people by ID, exists, and all of that, right? And if I show you the logs in here, so what is happening is actually running a select statement here. Have a look, select statement for us, right? So we said customer repository.find all, and this is the actual select statement that it's running behind the scenes. So again, go ahead and enroll to Spring Data JPA to fully master how to work with databases. And one improvement that we can do in here is, you see this get customer. So here, what we can do instead is we can remove all of this, and then we can say, so if I put this full screen, just like that, I can say customer repository dot find by ID, pass the ID, and then I can say or else. So if I indent things, or else throw, right? So instead of us calling this method and then the same thing again, you can see that this is a much better improvement. So let me just refresh and show you that this works. Let me go back in here and API v2 customers, send, and in fact we need to populate the database again, and you can see this is one of the disadvantages of using H2. We could actually persist to a file by using file in here, but we just decided to use mem. So in memory, connect, paste that, run, and then oops, go back here, refresh, and there we go. So now let's see that if we can access customer 1001. Oops, no, customer with ID not found, and basically we have a huge stack trace. So this was implemented during the exceptions section, not found in here, and we know that we have someone with an ID of 1000. There we go. You can see that we have, and all of that is coming from the database. So if I say 100, there we go, and you can see the select statements, right? So a bunch of selects here, and this is working beautifully. So there you have it. If you have any questions on this section, go ahead and let me know. But as I said, you should be enrolling to this course to fully master Spring Data JPA. So this will take you a long way in terms of working with databases. So this is all for this section. Catch me on the next one.